This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. This is an extremely hot Friday, and of course, today is open line. I'm so delighted to be in this studio where it's nice and cool. But Bahamians, I feel sorry for you who have to be working out in this extremely hot weather. It has to be well over 100 the temperature today, this afternoon, and it's very, very hot, even in an air-conditioned car. I felt the heat. Bahamians, something has to be done to try to keep people cool. Well, they tell you to drink a lot of water. I'm drinking as much water as I can. And I feel sorry for these people who may not have electricity if the lights keep going off all the time in their particular area. And they don't have any fans. People have to sit out on the porch. And unfortunately, we had an incident that occurred for about 2 families or 3 families where one was killed on the spot and the other 2 were injured, had to go to the hospital. And Bahamians, the specter of crime is very, very high in the country, and we have so many other pressing problems that exist. And of course, we have some other things happening which I have to speak to you about today, because Bahamians, we're going to have a very serious election campaign. It's heating up tremendously. But there are some new problems that we never had before. And Bahamians, it is most important that we behave ourselves as law-abiding citizens. We can disagree with individuals of different persuasions. The Constitution allows for people to belong to political parties, but Bahamians is getting out of hand. I heard some reports on another radio station I was listening to just before I came here, and there seemed to be cannibalism, attacks on different personalities who are in the media. And of course, in one instance, one particular caller was allowed to lambaste a very high-ranking senior personality in that particular organization by one of the personalities who host a show. And of course, some attacks have been made against personalities who host radio shows in particular. And it would seem as if people get all frenzied up over negativity. Now, we are human beings. We are subject to make mistakes. We should admit when we're wrong. But a lot of people don't want to do that. They would rather do everything else to deny it instead of admitting. And then if they admit, and it will eventually die out because there's nothing to feed it. But when you keep not admitting when you're wrong, dead wrong on anything or everything, it continues to fester and grow. And Bahamians, we have too many problems in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas today than to add to those problems. We have very deep-seated social problems that have existed for decades. People are wondering, well, what can you do to get rid of these problems? And it takes the collective will of a people to do that. And some people just don't know how to do it. Too many of us don't. We're not getting on well with one another. That's a very serious national issue. We are not organized Bahamians. One of the major difficulties with Bahamians, we have too many silos, too many little cliques, too many little groups here, there, and everywhere. And that is causing all kinds of trouble in the country today. We don't need that in 2025. We have to come to some common ground. What is that common ground? The Constitution of the Commonwealth of Bahamas and the Holy Bible. That's the only common ground you have, Bahamians. Anything outside of that, you're going to find you're going to get yourself in trouble. While it is true that people have a right to belong to their political parties, and I'll speak to that today, and spread their views or spread the philosophy of that particular party. We have some artificial intelligence out there where there's a lot of confusion as to what parties are saying. Are the people talking, are they bona fide members of that particular party? Even to the point where they're imitating some of the leaders of these parties, trying to speak as if the particular personality is saying something and they're doing it themselves, trying to get the voice of the particular personality and pretending to be that particular personality. Means that is very dangerous, extremely dangerous. We have to avoid getting into these tit for tat, butter for fat situations because we can get bogged down. We may end up having some things happen in this election period which would not be to our advantage. And I hope that everyone will be safe because we understand someone was threatened with death. A very high-ranking personality in one of the political parties has been threatened. It was reported by the particular personality, threatened with death. And we should not be doing those kinds of things. We should not even be encouraging that. There's plenty of room for us to live in the Commonwealth of Bahamas. For Bahamians now, not for them other people. Let me make that very clear. They need to go home to their own country. Now, I told you there are some things that I'm interested in doing. Of course, this is Open Line Friday. I don't want to get away from that. The lines are open 326-0272-813-0271. Those are the two lines that are open. Of course, we have Facebook. We have the Facebook page, and we also have the other area there. We have Cable Bahamas. I wanted to say that, 974. And it's important that you listen in and you participate in the show. But there are some specific things that you have to do because people are wondering, well, what is it that I can do in order to save the Commonwealth of the Bahamas? Because Bahamians, we have to find a way to save it. One of the things you can do is to be honest and upfront with the people you come in contact with. That would be a good way to start. And to work to get on well with your people in the area where you live. Some of them you may not like for one reason or another. I think what you have to do is look at the greater good. What is the benefit to the community itself? Rather than you not liking this person or not liking that person or that person not liking you or some other people. Those things do not help. People will have their different opinions. Unfortunately, today, Bahamians have all kinds of weird opinions. Plus, you have an infusion of strangers and foreigners and aliens and outsiders in this country who are also causing trouble. We seem not to have a handle on who is here. We don't seem to know who is here. I heard briefly, I have to get the full details of it, of some changes in the immigration department. I heard the new director of immigration, who is supposed to be dealing with that department, and some other persons who have been appointed to high positions in immigration. And people are hopeful, I guess, that there will be some changes. And of course, the Prime Minister had some words to say on that. We're going to get that tape. And once we have that tape, we will play that tape for you to hear exactly what he said. Because some things that he said in that tape, some other people before him were saying the same thing. But have we seen any real, genuine, appropriate changes in the country? While it's good to say these things, and they sound nice and sound good, but the actual fulfillment of the immigration law, the actual fulfillment of constitutional law to prevent violations, to prevent people from going the wrong way, you have to punish them. If there's an absence of punishment, people will tend to continue to do evil because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily. It is set in the hearts of the sons of men to do evil. They will continue to do evil because they believe they can get away with it. We've been having a lot of sex crimes. I mean, all kinds of perversions. Things that we would have thought never would happen in this nation under God. We're to be a godly nation, a nation with good, high-ranking, quality character, godly people, Christian people, who will obey the rule of law. But we have a lot of people who are being disobedient, and they're not following the law. And people are asking, are there any who are above the law? The answer is no, there are none. But yet some people act as if they are. And some people say, well, I don't want nothing to do with the law. Because this particular personality, that group of individuals are allowed to get away with certain things. Character assassination is a major problem in our country. People love to talk about negative things. In fact, I heard one caller on another show just before me coming in here today, talking about the negativity of callers on radio shows, that he doesn't hear anything positive coming from the callers, and how some callers are giving long extensions of time while others are waiting to get in to express themselves on that particular issue or topic that may be on the floor at that particular time. And people are very much concerned about that because some things are happening that are not really in our best interests. And so we have to work on that behavior because things are happening in our country which are not good for the nation. We're going to have to take appropriate action to stop it. This election, Bahamian, is going to be very, very serious. I don't want to use the word danger because then that puts a different connotation on it. It's going to be very serious. The campaigning is going to be very rough and tough because people who are campaigning, they want power. I'm not going to fault them for that. And there are some who will go to win at all costs. Whatever it takes to win, that's all they want is to win this election, and that's it. Doesn't matter what happens after that. They have achieved their goal. But if we have people like that in authority, we're going to have trouble. Some other things are going to happen in your country which you're not going to like, Bahamians. You don't want to put yourself in such a dangerous position. All you got to do is look at the Gaza Strip. And I think you have France just recently said they're going to accept Palestine, the Palestinians as a nation, and you have 140 something, if I'm not mistaken, nations that have accepted the Palestinians as a new nation. And the leader of France, the president of France, is going to bring that up at the UN meeting in September. You know, once every year, the UN meets in New York and they discuss issues that affect the world. And you have all of these heads of government, heads of state that go to New York and they have these discussions. But Bahamians, we will have a lot of discussion in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas in relation to this election. And we are going to change the format of our show, hopefully starting this coming week. We are going to contact all of the heads, the chairman of all the major parties. Well, every party, let me put it that way, every party. Major parties, we will contact the chairman of those parties and get an understanding from them because we don't want any artificial intelligence. We want to exercise caution and restraint. So if a person is a progressive liberal party follower or member or stalwart counselor or some other individual who's a member of that party, we want to be absolutely sure that that particular personality is able to speak on behalf of the party. I believe we have a caller on the line. Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please. Caller, go ahead quickly. Caller, you there? Oh, we don't have the caller there. Okay. What has to happen, therefore, is that we have to be absolutely sure that the particular person, if that particular person comes from the Progressive Liberal Party, then we have to be certain that that's a bona fide member of that particular party who can speak for the party. Whether that individual is a member in a particular branch, chairman of a branch, whether that individual is a stalwart councillor, and they have quite a lot of them in that particular party. You also have other persons who are council members in that particular party, people who know the philosophy of the Progressive Liberal Party. And then you have the Free National Movement. But of course, now I was to mention the young liberals. You're going to hear from the young liberals. You want to get those younger people also around the table. So we have to know who is who. And this is causing a lot of confusion in the country because you have all kinds of people purporting to be what they are not. And so the information is distorted, and there's a whole lot of confusion, strife, chaos, and nonsense going on. So we're going to go directly to the chairman of each party. I'm going to get to the COI chairman. I'm going to get to the FNM chairman. Of course, I called both of them, the FNM and the PLP, Mr. Chairman of the PLP, the member for Fox Hill. He was not in. I left a message for him, but I'll call him back. Also, the chairman for the Free National Movement was not in, but I was given a name to call one of his assistants who will get me to get to see him so I can talk to him directly. See, we're going right to the top. The chairman run the parties. That's our understanding. So we have to get them involved, Bahamian, so you can get a clear understanding. The same thing with the torchbearers. And information gets distorted when you do not have bona fide party members who are equipped to answer questions. Because they're going to be tough questions from Professor Sidney McArthur Thompson. They ain't going to be light stuff, Bahamians. We have very serious problems. And we need to get from the party what is it that these parties are prepared to do to solve these problems. After all, that's why you want to govern. What's the point of having a government that cannot solve problems? It doesn't make any sense. You want to see the lives of the people improved upon. And of course, you have the COI. I'll be getting in contact with the chairman of the COI, and I will get the information from them so we can have a wonderful roundtable discussion with representatives of these parties. And also let me speak to these independent personalities, but they don't seem to understand how the independent people ought to fit in. You are still in the dark, independent people. You don't have any ads on the radio. You're not out there maneuvering around in the communities. The people don't even know who you are. You can't wait for the last minute because you can get left out in the cold. As many of you were left out in the cold in the last election. You did not do your homework. You've got to get on the ground today. You can't wait for tomorrow. Tomorrow may be too late for you. You say you have an idea in your head. You say the Lord spoke to you and all that kind of thing. I'm not going to take light of that. But if that's what you say, then let's put it to the test. That's all you have to do. But don't complain about the media when the media doesn't even know anything about you. Because I've heard that kind of complaint. So these independent candidates, you are going to have to become responsible for getting your message out. You've got to approach. Well, you can come to Global because we're open to all candidates. We're open to all parties and all independent persons. So let me make that very clear. And we do not side with anyone. Let me make that also clear. Global radio station does not side with any political party, and neither does the host, Professor Sidney McGrath of Walter Thompson. He is not siding with any political party. My job is to give you the facts, give you the evidence, give you the proof. That's why we got to go to these rallies. See what I tell you? Because we had people already complaining about information, and this is preliminary stuff. Even the Minister for Foreign Affairs has been complaining. I can't blame him if people saying negative things and things that are not true about his particular organization. What do you expect a man to do? But then they can get it right by sending qualified, bona fide members who can express the views of those parties, because a person could be a member, or let me say better yet, still a follower. Many of them are not members. They're just followers, rank and file followers. They don't know A from B, except to say that the party said this, and they go to the rallies and they shake up and dance and put on T-shirt and drink some rum and eat chicken and them kind of thing. That's all they know. But when it comes to discussing real issues of the country and representing a particular political party, that's a whole loss of a different color. So you got to get your senior people, you got to get your candidates, you got to get your well-qualified people who can speak and speak intelligently, because the questions are going to be tough, Bahamians. We have to do justice for the Bahamian people. That's what we're here for. We can't be playing around, because too many lives have been lost over the last 52 years. People had high hopes. When they went to the polls to vote for particular personalities to run this place, they had high hopes. And they died not seeing those hopes achieved. And I take that very seriously. And the evidence is overwhelming. It's right in front of your face, Bahamians. But we have to correct it. And the way to correct it is to admit that you're wrong and change and do better. But if you keep saying you're not doing anything wrong and you continue in error, the country continues to go down. The best way to deal with that is to repent and say, yes, I was in error. Now we're going to work to change it. And change must be in effect, because some things need to be corrected, some very serious problems we have in this country, far more than we had in 1973. The lines are open, 326-0271, 326-0272-8130-271. My special guest is here today. Welcome to Global Radio 99.5 FM. This is Open Line Friday.
Good day, Professor.
Yeah, good day.
And the other two numbers, 502-4571, 502-4572. And if you dial those numbers, select option 2, and your call would be directed right here into the studio. But yeah, good day, Professor. And
Good day, yeah.
Good day, Bahamas. Like you said, Professor, there are a lot of very serious matters going on, as you said,
Yes,
Professor.
very much so.
And right now, I see a lot of what I see is distractions, Professor, because there are a lot of issues. Some are heavier than others.
Yes, they are.
And everybody's going to have different opinions on that.
Of course.
But right now, for example, last week, Junkanoo is very important.
Yeah.
That's our culture. That's what identifies us, and the new Junkanoo authority that is being debated or formed. But when you pass legislation related to land in the same week, do you spend the whole week talking about Junkanoo, or do you spend half of the week maybe talking about Junkanoo and the other half talking about the land reform issues? So all I'm saying is sometimes we get into this week it's biometric voting, which is very important. Some people don't feel they understand enough. The official opposition has said that they don't feel like there's been enough consultation. They don't feel like there's been enough teaching and making the public aware of what biometric voters cards would mean. What is a biometric voters card? And the Minister of National Security, Mr. Wayne Monroe, explained that not everybody would have to get the new card once they implement it. You can use the old voters card if you want to, or you can use what they are proposing as a new voters card.
I think that's going to create confusion.
Well, one thing I think that would create confusion is why would you remove the former parliamentary uh, leader in the parliamentary director was removed. I know they have an acting director at the parliamentary registrar. I actually don't know the name, Professor. I sort of got stuck on why did they move our first director in the middle.
But they didn't tell us.
Well, the general public, I'm sure they are not aware that the gentleman that was preparing for our next general election, right in the middle of preparations, we just hear that he's removed and sent to another department. But I'll comment on that.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Right there. Okay.
Yeah.
Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Brother Sid,
Hey, what you say?
good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good day. Good day.
Good day. You could write these down. I want to just throw some things.
Okay.
The justice in this country,
The justice? What do you mean?
the man that break open the church, McCullough Corner,
Mm.
in 2 days' time, he could have gone in prison. We
Okay.
have two high-profile cases. One, they ain't get a court date yet. The other one, being going to 3 years. But what I'm trying to find out, the accuser who they're accusing the person with, these other people who is behind them also who they accused. Now, what will happen to them as long as these cases not come to close? Could they go to the bank to borrow money or their job or whatever, stuff like that? Because this judgment is still hanging over their head.
That's correct. Yes.
So why these cases is taking so long to come when other little cases them be here is coming so fast and going just like that?
Has anyone asked the Chief Justice?
Huh?
Has anyone ever asked the Chief Justice? Did you write the Chief Justice and ask him?
But that's what I'm asking you.
No, I'm asking you if you wrote the Chief Justice.
No. I never write them. I just throw it out. Maybe you may know. Maybe your host may know. So I only throwing it out
Okay.
because we don't know what's going on. And my other point is, I still don't agree with that jail, Billen, and Foxville prison. I still believe that could have been moved to some family island in Nagua or Andres. We need to start, the government, whoever need to start thinking and plan now stuff like that. Out there is like a bottleneck. And how they have seen things, problem after problem, and they still getting themselves mixed up and this and that.
Yes.
You know, look how fast that case gone. That's why I alluded the first time with these high-profile case.
Yes.
And my last point is, the past commissioner said they had good lead on a 16-year-old boy what was missing from Carmichael Road from that time.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything about that.
You ain't hear from him yet. The commissioner gone, and you still can't find the boy yet.
Didn't find him. Yeah, that's interesting you brought that up. I had almost forgotten about
Okay,
it.
thank you.
Yeah, but thank you for your contribution. The caller brought up some good points and payments. This is what we do on Open Line Friday. We discuss issues that affect you, issues that you would like to talk about, and things you can organize yourselves to become a part of something bigger and better in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And that's what I'm going to be involved in. We're going to be asking for your strong financial support. We're going to ask for your prayers as well. And because Bahamians, we've got to get these problems out of the way. And by the grace of God, I think we will do that because we're a nation under God. And we've got to change our ways, our way of thinking, our way of behaving, which is not according to God's way. So this is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. The lines are open 326-0272-813-0271. We'll be back after the break. In making this place a much better place rather than adding to burdensome problems that exist in the country. We need real solutions to the problems that afflict our people. In fact, the large number of males we are losing, the large number of females now we are losing. It's all in the papers, all these deaths. Bahamians is very frightening. And very, very few people are able to get beyond 50. Very, very few. And so we have to look at that very seriously, Bahamians, because something is seriously wrong. We have to do something about that. Why is it that so many people are dying at such a young age? And in addition to that, we have people implicating themselves as being Bahamian, and they're not Bahamian at all. They may have a fraudulent passport and other documents which they claim they're citizens of the country. And we have to do something about that too. You can't have these foreigners, aliens, outsiders interfering in the process of election. And of course, there's a case before the courts, which was filed last February 2024. And we're still waiting for action on that particular case. But we're going to have to push forward with it, Bahamians, because we are in very serious trouble. Brother Hyla.
Professor, we are in trouble, but it seems like the leaders, when I say leaders, I'm not talking about one side, because the government of the Bahamas is comprised of the leadership as well as the opposition.
Yeah.
The opposition is a part of the government, so all of them are responsible for the direction that the country is headed in. But when we have our leaders dismissing, I think you have a video or an audio clip, sorry. We have an audio clip that the producer has. And I think we also have a phone call coming in. So let's address the caller, Professor.
Okay, caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please.
Hey, Professor, good afternoon, Professor.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Hey, good day. How you doing?
Good afternoon, guest. Good afternoon, Bahamas. Professor, I hear, come on, when you were talking about the Bahamians, what we do. Professor, let me say this. If you want to be a Bahamian, you can act like Bahamian. We do not have to lie. Now, one or two of us is lie. And I can say why we don't have to lie. Because our history is so amazing. All you got to do is tell the history of the Bahamas. And it's amazing all by itself. What it is, Proverbs chapter 6:1. We got to tell the truth. The truth is so awesome. Just so I can drop something on y'all. This ain't got nothing to do with the politics. This just got to do with Bahamian history. When I do the research, I ain't finished doing the research yet. But it was amazing. Nobody tell me. I say, what's going on here? Just do you know Bahamians was this ain't got nothing to do with the politics, but they just got to show show real Bahamians. You do not have to lie because our history is amazing all by itself. All we need is someone to tell it. Now, Professor, let me say this. Did you know the woman was the first set of people on the contract?
Which contract are you referring to?
And here, Professor.
Which contract are you referring to?
When the men them gone. Professor, I just put that out there. We ain't got to talk about that today. We can talk about that some other time. That's what I say. I say, Bahamians, you do not need to lie. All you need is tell the truth because the truth is amazing all by itself. Professor, let's go back to this immigration thing. I hear another little sip. I ain't confirmed it yet. I'm doing research. Where is our Ambassador Greenslade? When I see one little brung, I say, man, he should have some good things coming on immigration. I ain't check it yet. I just see a little slip on something. Like I say, fair use, education use only. That's all I got for today.
Okay, thank you very much. Brother Hylam.
Yeah, I mean, the call is saying we don't have to lie or misrepresent anything. We have a lot to work with. We just need to work it in a proper way, get on the same page. Yeah, Professor, generally I started out today by saying that a lot of the subject matters that are being discussed, I really see them as being distractions because while every issue is important, we need to pay attention to some of the very serious matters that are happening. Immigration, Professor, there is a changing of the guard at immigration, right?
Yeah.
Now, the outgoing director, I think he made a very important statement. The outgoing director said he would not sell out his country. There's a lot of scrutiny, a lot of people saying that not much is or not enough is being done in the area of immigration. And there's a newly appointed director of immigration, Mr. Stephen LaRota,
Yes, I heard his
is
name.
taking over the helm. Now, in the midst of all of that, I do have to say, the Prime Minister is dismissing claims. Prime Minister Davis is dismissing claims that the Bahamas is experiencing an immigration crisis. So all I can say to that is, Professor, America has taken the position that there's an immigration crisis at their borders. All right. The Turks and Caicos Islands has taken the position that there's an immigration crisis in the region on their borders. The Dominican Republic has taken the position that there's an immigration crisis in their borders. It seems like the entire region has taken the position that there's an immigration crisis. But the Bahamas, which seems to be the destination of choice for persons who are looking to leave their home and find another home, America is the primary destination, but they've closed their borders to many nations. So now the Bahamas is going to be a premier destination of choice. But we seem to be the only ones, or when I say we, let me say our Prime Minister is saying we do not have an immigration crisis. And how do you come to that point?
Okay.
So
I think my producer's saying.
I think we have that clip.
clip
We have
ready.
the clip ready.
Okay,
Yes.
go ahead, Mr. Producer.
Immigration crisis. We are not in an immigration crisis. Fact of the matter, our record speaks for itself. The fact that everybody doesn't know what's going on doesn't mean that we're not doing anything. If anyone just step back and see and recognize that we've not had landings, we have had very little landings over the last 4 years, that we have repatriated over 15,000 immigrants in the 4 years, the most in modern history, that at our detention center, the population is at its lowest ever. We are doing our job in respect to ensuring that our borders are being protected and persons who are amongst us.
What do you say about those
Well,
comments?
I was about to try to turn it to you, Professor. I was trying to get
I'm
off
gonna
the hot
speak to
seat.
it. I'm going to speak to it, yeah.
Professor, the Dominican Republic is saying they repatriated 250,000. To be fair now, they share one island, Hispaniola, with Haitian migrants in particular. So they are the neighbor. They are the immediate neighbor. But they are reporting numbers like 230 to 250,000 persons repatriated in 2024
Okay.
in 1 year. And we say in 4 years, 15,000, like 2,000 to 3,000 per year,
Mhm.
or 3 to 3,500 persons per year.
That's a
2,500
good number.
compared with
Very
250,000. I mean, come on, man. So when you're talking about 15,000 persons, and we've said it before, the U.S. is now saying they're going to deport between 500 to 700,000 individuals back into the Caribbean region. And, so we can move on past that. But the Prime Minister saying we're not in a crisis. Every
Is it
other
true or false?
Professor, I may get a failing grade on this one in your class, but Professor,
Can you define what is a crisis?
Professor,
When you use the word crisis,
a
what comes
crisis-
to mind?
what comes to mind is a situation that overwhelms your ability or your capacity to contain the matter or resolve the matter.
Well, I think that if that's the definition, then that accurately describes the problem we have in immigration in the country. Let me just say this about the Prime Minister. Not because he says we don't have a crisis, doesn't mean we don't have one. In his mind, that's what he's thinking. In fact, he expressed it. Now, the Bahamian people have to do something about that. Are you going to continue to have this individual as your prime minister when you may believe, contrary to what he's saying, that you have a serious immigration crisis in your country? Because we don't seem to know the exact number of people who are here. We have so many strangers and foreigners and aliens and outsiders who are trying to take over the country. They want to apply to be naturalized. There's no pathway to through naturalization because there's no article in the Constitution that supports it. And these are things people need to understand. That's why I told them, do you see all these treaties that we have signed?
Mm-hmm.
Let's say the government of the Bahamas. I ain't gonna use the word because I'm not in that.
Understood.
Now, the government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. No, let's not have that interruption. Just turn that off. The point is this, Brother Hyla.
Mm-hmm.
We have some very serious problems. The government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas has been doing some things that where they ought to consult the Bahamian people because
Yes.
these are very serious problems.
Yes, sir.
Land issues
Yes.
are extremely serious.
Yes, sir.
Immigration issues are extremely
Yes.
serious. They have long-term effect. But the government may give whatever it is they have to some people who they want to give it to, because I never get anything before it gets to the house. But now the thing gone to the house and done passed
Understood.
in a very few days.
In a very few days.
How can you solve issues like that? It's just putting us in deeper and deeper controversy.
Professor, allow me to say the same thing
Yeah.
you just said in another way, right? Imagine taking 25 years and not addressing a matter and then deciding that you're going to rush it up on the people in a matter of weeks with very little consultation. I listened to the debate in Parliament. Both major parties seem to have more problems with the voting. I heard them going back and forward over the biometric voting situation and the
Yes.
immigration situation. Sparks
Okay.
were flying. They were going back and forward, back and forward.
Okay.
But the week prior to that, Professor, when it came to the land issues, both major parties were quite comfortable with these land reform legislation. Very little debate back. No, let me not say very little debate. There didn't seem to be a problem with the level of consultation and letting the public know what is going on.
But that's important.
Why are you not allowing the public to know exactly what is happening? And we have been reporting on this show, Professor, you've been reporting what has been happening in the area of land
Yes, we have.
disputes.
Yes, we have.
And where's the conversation or the explanation as to why the government is moving in such a strong way without giving account to the Bahamian people?
That's a good question.
Without giving account. As a matter of fact, the Nassau Guardian, Miss Candia Dames of the Nassau Guardian, we are aware that she reported that the office of the prime minister was off base with their surplus, questioning what happened to the over $100 million surplus we're supposed to have, and to learn that we have a deficit now. In other words, the money is not right. The money is not adding up.
Yes.
So the office of the prime minister fires back and says that the Guardian need to apologize.
Yes.
And Miss Candide Dames need to apologize. And of course, we understanding that the Guardian's position is there will be no apology. So here it is. We're supposed to have 137 or so, $130 million surplus beyond what the government takes in. We're supposed to have $137 beyond what our budget calls for. Now we are learning that there's a deficit of some $2.1 million. So the Guardian called that into question. They're doing their job. That's all they did, from what I could see. But the office of the Prime Minister, it's like they don't want to be questioned. It's like they don't want scrutiny. And I'm looking at a poll right here, Professor. Out of, I don't know, let me see, 90% of the persons that responded to a Guardian poll, 90% said that they are very concerned, and this one matter raises serious credibility issues. And we don't want to be one-sided with this. We don't want to be one-sided or feel like, oh, you're blasting the PLP. No. Where's the opposition? Where is the leader of the opposition
Right.
contending against these matters? Very
That's his
little,
job.
very weak opposition. So we're not being one-sided with the two major parties. The two major parties are operating in a way that is carrying very low regard for the general public, very low accountability, and it's not good. This is a part of what gives us a poor credit rating. So while I'm on the subject matter, I want the whole public to understand, when you do these, they even call it voodoo economics sometimes, when you try to make things seem a certain way and it's really not. But this affects our image overseas. This affects the way that international lending institutions like the World Bank, like the IMF, like the Inter-American Development Bank, all of these institutions are monitoring government management of their affairs, fiscal affairs, as well as public-private partnerships, the way you manage your partnerships. And our government has a very low score. Why is this important? Because it determines who comes and brings money to the Bahamas.
Yes. Right.
Bahamians, I hope you all understand. We have there's a report, if you all haven't heard me say it before, called the Infrascope report. It's a scope on governments and how they manage their affairs. And this is from the Inter-American Development Bank. When they scrutinized, or when they did their report through questioning and investigation, they filed a report and they gave our government a 38% out of 100, roughly. So any time you get 38%, that's a low score. You're not
Right.
performing well. So all
Right.
these other opinions and all of these other things that
No,
we're
they
dealing
don't
with,
count to anything.
they don't amount. So what we need to understand, both major parties, FNM, PLB, both major parties, if you want to get stronger, if you want to be better on behalf of the Bahamian people, then figure out what needs to be done to improve our best practices, our international standards, our good government performance. That is what matters.
Yes.
And that is what is going to attract more money to us. Let me just
Yes.
say, while I'm on the subject too, briefly, the Moody's report, when we have these credit rating report, right? The last report that came out, it still has us at junk status. Both parties have experienced this. So for about 18 years, going on 20 years, the Bahamas has been viewed internationally as a junk territory. Do not invest in that territory. So let's discuss this.
Yes. That's right.
All the stuff about who do what better and who do what,
Yeah,
all
but
these
that doesn't
different
make
things.
any sense.
That don't make no sense
Those are distractions.
until we bring up our level of
real
performance.
The real issue
That's it. Until we
affects the Bahamian people.
That is it. Until we raise the bar, raise our performance, we will not become an attractive jurisdiction once again to be invested in. So that's the general point I wanted to bring across. All this other stuff don't matter. The Turks and Caicos Islands has surpassed us. They have a better credit rating than the Bahamas, and it has attracted a lot of foreign direct investment to the Turks and Caicos Islands, even away from the Bahamas. When we can discuss things like this. Professor, I think we have a caller on the line. Let's take the caller, Professor. Caller, you're live on air.
Good day, Mr. Hyde. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good day, Mr. Brother Thompson. Only got doing that day, so I can catch me something. I'm not going to do myself.
Yeah, go ahead.
catch me eating just now. I said, only y'all doing that today. Just don't, they don't miss anybody.
Yes, only us two any other day. I think Mr.
All right,
Cartwright
only
is
Mr.
on.
Hyde and Mr. Thompson. All right,
Yeah.
good day to y'all.
Good day.
to you,
Good day.
sir.
But I mean, but Hyde, you were saying something about nothing can change until this and that, right? But let me say this to you about Hyde and about Thompson. And I want you to understand this. See, as a man, I don't do too much talking, man. I mean, you know what I mean? I understand talking don't change nothing, you know what I mean? Talking about the issues over and over again. It's like insanity. You don't the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, right?
Mm-hmm.
But see, and I mean, as men, we're supposed to know how to solve problems. You understand? As men, we should know how to solve problems.
Right.
And not until the men in this country get like how the taxi union or whoever was back in the day when they shut down everything to get what they wanted. Not until you're all willing to do that, or we willing to do that as men in this country, as opposed to just sitting back and complaining and wondering why this and why that. And these people are supposed to be our employees. They're supposed to be looking out for our best interest. Be joking.
Right.
You understand? So we shouldn't even be sitting as a public trying to discuss what our government dealing with. You know what I mean? Questioning what they doing from what they ain't doing. We're supposed to go down and demand answers. If you understand my point,
Yeah, man, I understand your
all
point.
right. So until we as a people are ready to act like how the taxi union acted back in the day, ain't nothing happening. You understand where I'm coming from?
I agree.
You understand? See, because we need to show proper dissent. You understand? We have a right.
Yeah.
We have a right to demand change. I mean, you understand? We have a right to demand whatever we want to, but like I said before, not until we're ready to take action.
Right.
Will anything change? We can talk all you want. They expect us to talk. They expect us to complain. As governments, they expect us to talk about this issue today.
Right.
And by tomorrow, we forget about it when the next issue comes. See, they're used to that.
I hear you.
You understand that? That's how come they could throw things at us and just say what they want to say because they know ain't no accountability too. Because like I said before, they know we are easily distracted.
Right.
We forget quickly. You understand? And then we don't seek solution to the problem. We don't seek an end to the issues. You understand where I'm coming from, Brother Hyla?
I understand.
We don't seek solutions to the issues. We don't seek resolve. And without resolution, ain't nothing happening.
No.
All right? So like I said before, unless we're ready to get, like how the taxi union do, man, we can talk all day. We can talk forever because, man, look at it. You think they care about us talking?
Yeah.
You think they, The only time they might care about us talking is when it comes close to election time and they want the atmosphere to be good as it relates to how people look at them.
Understood.
Other than that, they don't care about you and me. But I want to ask you a question though. I want to ask because I thought about this too. Because see, I mean, I'm for one. I met a gentleman called earlier about doing the Bahamian history. I mean, I like him when he called. I like the contribution he's making. And me sound like a good fella. Sound like he got a good heart, good intentions. And I'm talking about the man talking about the Bahamian history thing.
Yes.
But it sounded as if because he was talking about how great the Bahamian history is, right? And I mean, I disagree with him with that because I mean, you know what I mean, compared to but it sounded as if he was saying that. If I heard him correctly, because he didn't really go into any detail, he just said something kind of quick. He said something about someone being the first ones on the what you call that thing people used to go on?
On the contract.
Man, them used to go.
Yeah.
What you call it?
On the contract. Yeah.
Yeah, so like he was saying something about someone being the first one to go on the contract, and if he was saying to say that that's something great from the Bahamian history, that's
so the women were the first to go on the contract.
That's why I asked him which contract. What's he talking about?
But in any event though, if he was talking about that as being an achievement or a great thing in Bahamian history, right? I mean, that's nothing, man. Do you understand where I'm coming from, Brother Hyla?
Yeah, man.
I mean, like to say accomplished, like to say great in Bahamian history. I mean, like talking about. Like listen, I can be real with you all, man. Listen.
Yeah.
But when we talk about history or our history as Black people, right? When we limit our history as Black people to the Bahamian history, we do ourselves an injustice. We do our children an injustice when we limit our history.
Understood.
To the Bahamas, and it amazes me when people used to come on talking about it's because we don't know our history. It's because they don't know our history, and I thinking to myself, these people know the truth because it's because we don't know our African history. It's because we don't know our history before this place. But then they'll turn right around and say we don't know Bahamian.
Stop the caller. Stop him. Where does the African history come in? Where does that come in, gentlemen? We're not in Africa. We're in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. What is he talking about? See, I have a problem with that. That's a whole different kettle of fish coming from a different quarter altogether. We are in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. We're an independent nation, 1973, July the 10th. Does he understand that? We have to deal with where we are now, what our forefathers had set up. He's talking about something totally different. We're going to go to a break. This is Professor Sidney MacArthur Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, 99.5 FM. The lines are open, 326-0271, 326-0272, 813-0271. We'll be back after the break. A lot of things are happening in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, and you have to become involved in being able to save your country because we're in serious trouble. I believe we have a call on the line. Call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Yes, hello, sir.
Hello, yes, pertaining to the situation with the immigration crisis we've had here. Lots of other countries have the same issues, especially in the Caribbean, like Turks and Caicos, Haiti, Dominican Republic, and all these other places. But I find it very interesting that, for instance, like Mr. Hyler said about Providential Turks and Caicos,
Yes.
you know, it's high end. They have condominium hotels, condominium resorts that they've built over the years. And, you know, they have very expensive high-end clientele that come to the resorts.
Yes.
It seems as if we in the Bahamas have, I would call the hamburger and hot dog tourists.
Okay.
You know, tourists that cater more to cruise ships that spend very little,
Little money. Yeah, that is
very
true.
little money,
Mhm.
and then we get nothing back in return.
That is true.
But in Turks and Caicos, like I said, they have so many hotels that's being built right now, high-end hotels being
Yes.
built right now, and it's amazing. I mean, I would implore any Bahamians to actually go over there and visit the place and see how advanced the place is and everything. Even though
Okay.
they may have a little tourism issue,
Yes.
you know, but they have surpassed us by far,
Mhm.
leaps and bounds as relates to tourism and the money spent
Okay.
in tourism. And it's a crying shame because we was once the training ground for tourism
Yes.
That is
in
correct.
the Caribbean.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
And we've been bypassed by so many different countries in the Caribbean. It's embarrassing and a shame.
Okay.
And it's like this government, no disrespect to them, but you know, it seems as if they are actually lost when it comes to tourism, when it comes to immigration, when it comes to Junkanoo, when it comes to so many things, they seem to be lost. You know,
Okay.
and then when they get pushed back from the Bahamian people, they jump in line and make 1,000,001 excuses why this can't, why that can't happen. But when they were in opposition, they were the same ones who were railing the former government.
Okay.
You know, but now the shoes is on their foot, and they're doing the crybaby sour line. Take my basketball, let me run home.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so it's
Right.
sad, you know.
Okay, Carla, well, we appreciate your
Yeah,
contribution.
and we see it the same way, you know, just as you spoke.
Thank you very much for your contribution.
You know,
Brother,
Professor,
Good
good
afternoon,
afternoon, everybody.
good
good
afternoon.
You know, what that caller said, I don't think we in the Bahamas understand. Cruise ships always cater to, like he said, might be hamburger type clientele, but the difference is that most cruise ship projects, when they build, is an exclusive. That's
Yes,
how
it's
come.
exclusive.
Yes.
That's
all
why
exclusive, yeah.
Sandals
Yeah.
came and brought it to land.
Yeah.
If you notice now with all of the carnivals and RCL, what are they doing now?
Mhm.
They are now targeting land-based turf within their cruise travels.
Right.
And they're now incorporated all in one.
All in
I
one.
think we got a
Yeah.
call online.
Yeah, okay. Carla, you're live on air. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Yes,
Hey,
sir. How
good
are
day,
you?
sir. Good
All
day.
right, Master Cole.
Yeah, I just got to make my point a little quick here.
Mhm.
I agree with the gentleman yesterday when he spoke to this title of honorability in the Bahamas. I
The
also agree
Constitution
with the
says,
gentleman who just called it
Carla,
just now.
Carla,
That
listen carefully. One may disagree with what he may be
Well,
saying because
He
the
said he agree-
Constitution.
He said he agrees with the gentleman.
No,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that the
Constitution.
caller is saying
Mhm.
that he don't think they should be honorable or be called honorable. He had a problem with that. The caller
yeah,
Okay.
and you said the
Okay.
Constitution says we must do that.
No, the Constitution describes them as honorable members of the Senate, honorable members of the House of Assembly.
Yes. But the Bible also advises to say, don't say peace when there is no peace. Now, I disagreed with him, and I didn't want to. I called in actually to agree with the gentleman who just called just now, who said that we must take a look at ourselves right now.
Okay.
Yes.
Mhm.
I believe he lost the caller.
Physically in the Caribbean, but I was doing research yesterday, man, and I had to go through YouTube to see these simple things. I checked out every island or country. Some of them independent and some are not. But
Yes.
so you would be surprised to know how far we are behind these people. The Dominican Republic. Do you know these people have overpass? Like, you know, these like in Miami, you drive up on a bridge that takes you over the traffic and bring you down to a neighborhood.
Yes.
This is in Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico. You expect that it's American, and these people are passing us like crazy. We have 23 countries down there, my research told me. And the Bahamas is only interested in one, the most violent, the poorest, and they are full. And let me tell you something. I'll leave this with you right now. We are starting to associate ourselves, not just politically or whatever wise. We're starting to look like that place. And it's a shame because we only pay attention to two parts of Nassau, to the east or the west. In the middle right here, the majority of this place starting to look very deplorable. And I agree with the man just now.
I understand that. Yes.
That's what I want to say. Thanks very much.
Caller, before you go,
before you
go, I just wanted to basically highlight or underscore what you've said concerning our position in the region.
Yes.
We are number 17.
Oh, wow.
Out of 24.
I had it higher than that.
We had the Inter-American Development Bank ranks us in terms of how we handle our public-private partnership, how we handle our money.
Yeah.
These contracts that that they're supposed to be developing our nation. I'm saying, and this is not about one particular party or the other party. We need to wake up to get leaders that can take us back to where we were.
The leadership is horrible. I got to say it real quick.
Yeah.
And Mr. Cartwright just now, he was mentioning on the cruise ships.
Mm-hmm.
Cruise ships are
Repeat that part. Cruise ships are
nothing but traveling cities.
Okay.
Anything you could find in Miami, you'll find on a cruise ship.
Okay.
They have no reason to come over here.
Understood.
Pick up a T-shirt maybe.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, caller. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Professor, even as you came in, Carter, we were talking about how dismissive our leaders are of the reality that we face, and it's very concerning. Because the caller that made his contribution and said that from what we can see, there's a crisis that's happening, but then that is not acknowledged. Now with the Guardian taking a position, like you started to say, or as we started to say, the Guardian, their job is to report. If the government says we're going to have a surplus of 137 million, and then it's found that didn't happen, we are under a deficit once again, a few $1 million. What is the problem with the Guardian or Ms. Candia Dame stating this is the case? For the office of the Prime Minister to say you all need to apologize or retract the statement, I don't understand.
I think the Prime Minister doesn't understand, in a way, finance, because a surplus, when you do a budget, is a projection. It's not real money.
Mm-hmm.
It is what you expect. Mm-hmm. You're hoping to make that. And one of the things I always say to the people in finance, we live in a hurricane belt. We don't know when another hurricane could come and zap our economy like what it did to Dorian.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're making these projections, I think you now need to take a step back and make tangible projections.
Mm-hmm.
See, you already missed your last projection. So now you coming back to say to cover that by saying, you know what, we're gonna cover this because why? Or we were short 10 million.
Yes, no problem. That happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but now we're gonna you put yourself, like my dad used to say, you gotta be careful how high you put your basket.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you put it so high that you can't reach it,
right,
and it fall, then everything collapses.
Mm-hmm.
So what she did was basically she took it to her boss, who is a CPA.
Mm-hmm.
And for her to report that means that he had to approve it. And so if he approve it, he knows what he's doing. And
you mean Mr. Ferguson?
Yes. And so when you look at it,
I don't know. I don't know if you think she had to check in with him to make sure.
Yeah, because
I think that could have gone either way.
No, because here's the thing. Candy is not a CPA.
No, but she's a responsible journalist. She's just reporting.
She's a journalist.
Yeah.
When it comes to finance,
I understand.
You got to have someone with a financial background to explain to you, because if you listen to when they speak in Parliament, a lot of the stuff they talk about, when you break it down in simple terms, it makes sense or don't make sense. But because the average person in the inner city or in the country doesn't understand,
right?
They sound like, oh, wow, it's something great happening. But then when things go wrong, then they say, oh, for instance, we heard when the minister got up for energy, she said, oh, the utility is going to drop. But no one paid attention to that in the month of January, December, January.
Yes.
That is the coldest time. And so no one needs to use it. I said, wait until the summer hits,
Right.
and let us see
What comes
what's
up?
And now we're seeing that it ain't. I heard someone say that a member said that the people are using too much energy, and I was like, why not? Just the summer. We gotta live in comfort.
So while you're there, let's make sure and point out Super Value. We reported last week. Just quickly, Super Value is saying that in 1 month, their bill was $70,000 higher across their stores than last year at the same time. That's 1 month was $70,000. The following month, it was about $110,000 higher than what they paid last year. And they brought the concern to the government. They're not going up on the price. They're eating it. It's a loss, really. Then since we were talking about projections and government projections, let's look at Super Value projections now. They have their projections. Now they are about minus $200,000 they got to pay for electricity more under a program that we were told that our bill is going to be less.
And guess what's going to happen? The consumer who goes to buy groceries will now feel that pinch.
At the end of the day,
Yeah.
because they're saying that they're not going up on the price right away. But Cartwright, like you said, that come in.
They will do like how the government does things. They will pick certain items and hike the price up. And certain items, they would leave it for a while, and then they go back to forfeit it.
So once again, the end result is higher cost of living, right?
Yes.
And this has been the problem for over 10 years now. But now, what's the turnaround? What's the solution there?
Right. The problem I always tell people is that it is good for you to sit on the other side and criticize. But when you get in that position, bring solutions. And that's the biggest problem we find that with our parliament. A fellow sit on the other side and he criticizes, and once he gets in the chair, then he starts to point finger, well, they didn't do this. We don't want to hear what they didn't do. You've been neglected to run and manage our affairs. Come up with solutions. If you notice carefully, all the stuff the government is talking, we've got this one buying a hotel, or we've got this one doing this. And it's like, okay, what about the small little things that affects the average man?
Right.
The kid in the inner city, especially the young men. You don't hear no one presenting any policies and how we could basically curb the killing amongst our young men.
Right.
But we see they're trying to make more, they'll do more penalties to send them to prison.
Yes.
And I was like, how are you now addressing these problems? We now have a problem where now the Minister of Health is coming back and say they're going to now address a new form or amendment to NHI. And I was like, you still ain't figured that out yet?
And let's keep in mind, they said that they weren't doing any new bills, eh?
But that's what I'm saying. So what they're doing is,
hey, Professor, they saying they weren't doing any more bills.
All they're doing is cutting bills and then patching it up and saying, okay, this is an amendment.
Yeah.
We have the Minister of National Security speaking to earlier the biometrics and voters card. There's so many things going on in this country right now that they're dropping the ball.
Definitely.
Professor, clip ready.
Yeah, the clip ready.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Producer.
Expect responsible journalists to look at what the facts are. The headline speaks of this April deficit, they say of 2.something billion. That will throw my prediction of surplus off. But that's far from the truth. How could April 25 deficit impact on surplus that I have predicted for 25-26? Surplus is predicted for 25-26. April 25 will impact because the 24-25 fiscal year. And that's why when people don't understand and they're being misled by political mischievousness, that's what it is. Because it's a complete misrepresentation.
Wow.
I think that's it.
Political mischief is, what do you call it? Carter, you go first.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm trying to figure out, is the Prime Minister saying that what she's saying in April 25 will affect his projection of this budget that was just passed? Or is he saying that she is saying from last year's budget that he was short? So if he was short in last year's budget, then she's trying to say, listen, your makeup that your surplus, take away what you've already proclaimed that you might have been short of. Then when you add it up, because you only look like you say it's like you borrowing money to cover up, or you're hoping that whatever happens will cover up for the loss. Right. The reality is that the Bahamian old saying, money in sight costs no fight. So if there's no money, even though you would admit that it's a projection, then stick closely more to the reality of what it is you're looking for. Because I could wish to be a millionaire tomorrow. It doesn't have to happen.
No, it doesn't have to.
It's a projection.
Right.
Yes.
It's a wish. So when you go after people for making a statement, before you attack them, I would have said, you know what? Here's the barometrics that I use to come up to this proposal. And then show them the formula and let them go over it. Not you telling them, well, you don't understand, because I could tell people this, I don't know when the prime minister became a financial guru.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard that the members in his caucus, the minister, Mr. Simon Wilson, and the Minister of State, Mr. Alcides, them have some financial background. But if you go to top financial people like CPAs, and then if they explain it to you, you're like, well, then what are you talking about? So the PM and his team has to be very clear. I think we got a caller.
I believe we have a caller.
All right.
Caller, you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, MacArthur Walter Thompson.
Yes, we have our
Hey,
two guests here.
that sound like Patriot.
Patriot number 7. What's happening, Tricky?
Right here, my brother.
How did it go last night?
Well, I can tell you one thing. We had a great send-off, and I think you'll have another one going down on Saturday.
Well, that's good. Let's call it for what it is, okay? The election is looming.
Yes.
The Davis administration is in all kinds of problems, okay? They're in all kinds of problems. Things ain't looking good for them. So what they are embarking on is soundbite politics, telling you what they think you want the masses want to hear. And in doing so, what he said the last time happened to have fallen on the ears of a really good investigative journalist, namely Candida Daves. You understand? We know Candida Daves' record is impeccable. The problem I have with the leader of the administration is, I know where he's from. He's from Cat Island. And let me tell you something about Cat Island people, because I'm from there too. If you find Cat Island people who's spiteful and vindictive, buddy, only the blood of Jesus can get them off your back. You understand me?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Only the blood of Jesus. Mm-hmm. And that is exactly what happened, because Candida was correct. The figures don't lie, numbers don't lie.
Mm-hmm.
But the spitefulness, the pettiness, it's petty in what they're doing. Thanks for taking Patriot number 7 call.
Thank you for your contribution,
Wow.
Gentlemen.
Yes, man. We had this conversation last night, and I told him, I said, you know, if he had a problem, all he had to say was, listen, let me call the owner of the paper and said, listen, man, I know your reporter made this comment. I would like to show you that this is, and then give him your figures and your formula, because everything you do when it comes to numbers comes with a formula. So let him see your formula and let him see if your formula is correct.
Okay.
And if it's correct, then he will have nothing else but to say, well, yes, it's correct, so we'll apologize.
Yeah.
But not for you to demand an apology, like you are some mathematician. My brother, we all know you're a good attorney in your craft. Numbers has never been your big strong point. So leave the numbers to those who are understandable. We know to have degrees and stuff, like Mr. John Roll at this, the Central Bike. Let them, or, if I was him, I would now start to move on from starting next year, that allow the budget figures to be handled by outside source instead of the internal, because we keep seeing these fudge numbers and then they come back and give an excuse why the numbers ain't lining up.
Okay. All right, then. I think we're going to a break. This is Professor Sidney McCarter, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network, Open Line Friday. We'll be back after the break.
shows are balanced with representative from all perspectives. For example, people use the example of Clint.
Clinton has a show. The leader of the opposition has been on Clinton's show more times than the prime minister. He has a show where he has pundits from across all political divides. But I remind the public, if they believe that any show in the Bahamas is in breach of political bias or unbalanced, they should report it.
Okay. Brother Hyler?
Professor, out of the office of the Prime Minister, they're taking issue, as we heard, with a communications director or a communications person from the Free National Movement being on the radio.
Right.
And from what he is saying, they believe it is a biased, one-sided perspective, and they are complaining to IRCA. Okay? My thing to Mr. Latreille Raming is, why didn't you run to IRCA when your administration was dealing with the BPL deal? What is the connection? Where Hyler going with this? Why Hyler going off base? The Utilities Regulation and Competition Authority, IRCA. You run into IRCA to say you have an issue with a talk show. But when it comes time for your government administration to come under the scrutiny of that same IRCA, you don't want it. Why don't we sit down and have a table over how the Electricity Act 2024 should have been overseen by IRCA? So I'd like to sit down with Mr. Latreille Raming. If the office of the Prime Minister wants to come on this show and discuss IRCA, let's do both. Let's discuss IRCA should monitor the F&M show or Guardian Radio, but let's also discuss how IRCA should be regulating the government authority as it relates to the Electricity Act. You see what I'm saying, Professor?
Yes,
you see what I'm saying, Cartwright?
But my thing is this. I think you ready with the clip? Or call him? Call him.
Don't lose that point.
No, I can lose my point. Go ahead, call him.
Call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Good day, gentlemen.
Good day. How are you?
Hey, good day, good day.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes, sir.
Now, when you discuss this, that's the very point with the office of the Prime Minister in terms of they feeling that the radio personality was being politically biased, and then they try to use the law, the constitutional law, to, I guess, silence and to bring judgment on the radio station or the company. Well, my thing is with the office of the Prime Minister is outside of that, and that's why I always talk from the independent voice, because when you talk Constitution, generally outside of you, Mr. Thompson, there aren't really much radio station that speaks to both sides of the Constitution, which is the independent and the party. Yeah. But now you have a party representation or a party organization who works for government and now blaming a radio personality for being politically biased or trying to influence and persuade persons of the other side. And I don't understand it, because what if I go and file a report to IRCA on what's going on with the media and say the same claims that, the independent don't get the same treatment as everybody else, and we could say that it's bias as well. Now, my second point is to Mr. Cartwright. A projection surplus of anything is not really a wish. It's really a calculated risk. The issue with projections and forecasts financials is the fact that you may be basing your numbers in the future according to real numbers of the past, which we do, with perhaps sometimes a 10%, 20% markup on the output depending on the expansion plan. What happens is, in a forecast, what we do not account for is the unforeseen. Sometimes when you now press play and you go through the year, you now may encounter some issues that you didn't expect that may have cost you, that now money has to be removed, which alters or affects your projection. Yeah. Now, if you look at the Act, what happens is the Act has said that there's an Act that says that when we come to in this position and the government misses their forecast projection, they now have to come to Parliament and provide a plan to show how they can make up for the shortfall.
Right. A plan or an explanation.
Mm-hmm. Right. So people could understand that they're okay, because we realized that the projection is based on real numbers that they was expecting to happen, but something happened and it didn't account for that. Now the problem with Mr. Davis, with his projection slip, he was basing in June. We're talking about an end of year budget, and he's using 1 month projections from not even, which I don't know why, from if you in May and in June talking about the budget for the year, why you wouldn't have April financials 2 months later at the end of the day to go in Parliament and to speak on a surplus of 100 and something million, and the end of the month has not been calculated. Right there, that's a rookie move.
Very risky.
Okay, but the problem is what he did was, again, the PLP was trying to give people, I guess, hope of a future success without crediting the current result of the nation financially. So it's almost like they try to keep what was going on financially currently in the dark, but put us on a future goal of what we can achieve once we keep moving in this direction. Because all they wanted to do was open up the budget to get the budget passed. Because the minute the budget passed, that first week after the budget passed, the PM was traveling again.
We noticed.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So it's unfortunate, and I could take you back to the past during the election campaign of 2021 when they posted until the same Guardian Radio and all these different news medias except for Global, who plastered me all in the media saying I was the $60 candidate, not knowing that I was the most honest. And if they understood about finances then, they would have known that I was $60 above my break even as a profit after my expenses are paid. So from then I was trying to teach the nation something about how to analyze finances and understand what is truly a profit and what is truly a deficit, because on the other hand, Minister Alcides, he was in a deficit because his mortgage was more than what he was bringing in before he got hired back in government. But they still hire him.
Yes.
Fred Mitchell declaration, he didn't even disclose anything in it, but he still was able to participate. See, these are the things that we don't watch.
And that's unconstitutional right there.
We get caught up in the fan flare.
Yes.
You see, and so it's unfortunate that they try to use me as an example to bring and to destroy an image that the people need to know that success is not about how rich you are.
No.
Okay, because rich people come to poor people all the time for help because they have money, but the poor man have a plan.
Okay.
So get a plan. Because rich people looking for a man with a plan all the time. And so if the government was sensible, they would have been encouraging Bahamians to get a plan, because globally there are more rich people with a disposable income of $1 million. There's 10 millionaires with a disposable income of $1 million to every one Bahamian. So that means every one Bahamian could get $10 million invested in a plan just in North America alone if our government understood what it means to see all of our citizens wealthy. Again, right there, generals. Have a good day.
Yes. All right.
He is correct. You know, it is funny that those who don't have would offer solutions without cost.
That's right.
To those who have. And those who don't understand refuse to take advice from those who are willing to offer them like free advice, free without any cost.
Cost.
But they will go to someone who doesn't understand, and both of them are lost.
Yeah.
And they both just continue to then they want you to look at them and say, well, he's smart. No, that's a big risk you're taking.
Well, Cartwright, based on what you're saying, I hope when the general public understands these land legislation, when they fully understand what they really represent, I hope they reject the major parties. Because right now, let me just say this quickly. The Quieting Titles Act, we could argue as to whether or not the Nationality Act or the Quieting Titles Act, which one of these laws that have been on the books for so long are more damaging to the Bahamian people. You know what I mean? And we speak about it often. But the powers that be, they're not doing anything about it. What am I saying? The Quieting Titles Act is being used, according to the Privy Council, to steal land. So why, or could be used to steal land, and we believe that's a lot of what is happening. why wouldn't these be overturned? In the case of the Nationality Act, if it's causing people to be wrongfully or fraudulently gaining citizenship, why wouldn't you overturn that? Why wouldn't you have a conversation on it? Because notice they don't even have these words in their mouth, Cartwright.
No.
You don't hear these words come up. Or this is our position on. No, they're wanting people to, like you said, forget and we just move on to something else.
I keep telling people, like me and Mr. Professor talked about it the other day. The government of the Bahamas, all of the administrations, whenever they are in a bind, they don't comment on it. And so what they tend to do is hope that you let it pass.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't talk about it, they're not going to bring it up, and then
Right.
eventually it disappears.
Right.
I think the producer should be ready.
I think he has the clip ready right now.
Okay.
You have that clip ready, Professor. You have the clip ready now.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Producer.
It is also important to note that we already have a head start. About 80% of Bahamians on the register have already submitted biometric data through the passport office. We propose allowing individuals to give their consent for the existing data to be securely transferred to the Parliamentary Registration Department. This saves time, cuts costs, and avoids forcing the public to go through the same process twice. For new applicants or those updating their card, biometric registration will involve submitting a high-resolution photo, digital fingerprint impressions, and a digital signature.
Gentlemen, what do you think about that?
Professor, I think we need biometric data and fingerprint for every migrant coming into this country.
But here's the thing, Brother Hyler. I know you have voted, Professor voted, our producer voted, I have voted.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the elections that is being held in the Bahamas over the years, how many problems have we found that our elections have been high fraudulent? Very, very.
In other words, the need for the system is not at a high level.
So for me, when I hear people talk about biometrics, I always said, what is the reason or why? My father always said,
we need to know.
if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah,
I've heard that.
We've always had a clean, we've had more better output of our elections because I've worked some and I've seen whereby that when you see people come in and vote, they present their cards, the poll workers question them if they challenge them, and at the end of the day, that person ends up going, if it's a challenge vote, that ends up going to the election court, and that is basically resolved in matter of no time. Either that person is then taken off the register and the vote is cast away, or is added.
Right.
So we never have all of this problem as they claiming for fraud. Our biggest problem with biometrics, and we now seeing where we have a lot of problems with biometrics, is in the two areas that is very, very endeared to this country: immigration and the passport office. So if you got problems in those two departments, why do you want to now spread that cancer into other departments? Clean up that mess you have in those two departments. And like he said, they want you to give their consent. So is he saying that if I don't want to, you can't go and get it?
That ain't what he's saying. What he said was 80% of the register already has the biometric data through the passport office. So the question is, did you even get permission from the people?
That's what I'm asking.
To have your biometric data shared?
I don't want my information shared with anybody.
Then. And neither do I.
And so you now basically invasion of privacy.
Okay then.
And so these are things that government and the parliamentary
Who did they consult with on this?
They didn't consult the individuals.
See, the opposition rightfully challenged and said, hold on a second now.
Yes.
There's no wide consultation on this, and you're just going right ahead with it. So I heard Mr. Shenandoah Cartwright, thankfully, rise on the floor of the House and say, hold on, baby, Now, the other side of it, Cartwright, a week ago, when y'all were dealing with the Conveyancing and Law of Property Act 2025, the Registered Land Bill 2025, and the Land Adjudication Bill 2025, those three, just 1 week ago. Where was all of this contention and hold on, we need more consultation? Whether from Mr. Shenandoah Cartwright or whether from Mr. Michael Pintard, where was the level of protest or slow down? All that fire you came with in the house saying, slow down with the biometrics and the voter's card. None of that took place a week before God, right? I have, Professor,
Yes.
I have a problem with that.
Yes.
Both of them, there was very low protest, and it's like, okay, we'll sign off on this. We agree with it. Both major parties agree with something that the general public still doesn't understand whether or not. One of the things in particular, Carter, I just mentioned, one of the proposals now, I don't know if they went through in the final version of this bill. Do Bahamians know that you have to register land now? It's a must, because we just shifted from an unregistered land system. You didn't have to register.
No.
But today, as we sit, you have to register, or you may lose that land even if you paid for it. That is one of the concerns. You have to register your land now, and the public was not made aware of that. And not only that, going back, I'm looking at it here now. One of the proposed amendments, in summary, said that after July the 1st, 2022, a conveyance is actually void if not also registered in the registry of records. So going back to 2022, 2023, there are people right now, there are Bahamians that would have bought land, didn't ask if their lawyer registered it. They may not have registered it, but they have a title, they have an agreement, a sales agreement for land holding. But if they did not lodge it for registration under the new law, that could be struck off the record as you're not the owner of that. And the public, I'm just giving that one example, Cartwright. That's something that your cousin Shannon Dawn Cartwright should, I believe, he should have stood up and said, hold on, we have a problem with this.
You know, I always just sit down in Parliament and I listen to things and I always question. And sometimes when I approach my cousin, sometimes he's be like, oh, I'm in a rush, I got to go somewhere. And I was like, hey, I want to ask you some poignant questions that you can come back, speak to your colleagues, because I can't speak to them in the setting you can. And you can ask them, hey, X, Y, Z. This week on, I went and I remember speaking with the PM and I said to him, I said, how does this new land bill that you all are proposing will assist persons who are now dealing with probates and other things to sort out, because you've had a lot of people who basically inherit land.
Right.
And now, as we know before, you don't have to always register all this stuff.
Exactly.
So it's much easier for some people. I said, now, I agree that it is easy now that individuals can go and do their own research,
right,
which is good. Because you had to pay someone, but now you find that I listened to the MP for St. Anne's, he said, you know, this new bill basically doesn't change much things. It's more like you got two set of bills parallel to each other. And I was like, well, why do we need two bills parallel to each other when you could just basically do certain amendments and you move on? I, up to this day, don't understand. We're moving too fast. And here's the thing I would say to the Parliament Commissioner. We've only got roughly about a year or less than a year for the election.
Right.
Something as serious as this biometric stuff should have done when the government first came to power.
Definitely. Yes. Yeah. Not months before an election.
I think you got a call?
Well, they're looking at 7 months. We have a call on the line?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
How you doing? I just calling back because I was laughing. Hi, Mr. Hyla.
Yeah.
You said that Shannon Cartwright is Mr. Cartwright's family?
Yeah, man, you have plenty family. But we only have a couple minutes left. Independent Angel, listen, they family and he have direct access to help his cousin out. He can help.
But why should I break
Go ahead.
Because
Go ahead.
the reason me and Shannon Cartwright could never look eye to eye was because he's Mr. Haitian lover.
Wow.
In St. Barnabas. Cartwright know that.
Understood.
Cartwright know you go to 4th Street, 3rd Street, you go around the Grove, you get more Haitians around there till they thinking that's Haiti.
Wow.
And that's why me and Cartwright, me and Shannon Cartwright couldn't get along, because I tell him there's no way you could be in this community and you putting Haitian above my Bahamians, my brother.
I understand.
That's why he's independent. And that's why I tell man them why money buy land and talk is cheap, because a lot of people can't really put their name on the paper and say I go run against corruption because I may be connected.
Right. Understood.
I am on that, General.
Understood.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay,
Independent.
thank you very much.
Listen, I want to talk about Cartwright are the good cousins now. Cartwright have some good cousins.
No, I like to.
No, I didn't mean to imply that particular cousin is not a good one.
No, I would like to reply and say to Independent, Angel, St. Barnabas constituency, not only 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, the Old Grove. Many of those people we see now in that community who are either Haitian, well, basically they are Haitians, because we know that most of them, 99% of them, never went back to Haiti and got their renunciation documents.
Understood.
But they've been living in this country since time memorial, with governments upon governments giving them documents. And what someone said to me this morning, he said, why would you need to go back to Haiti and get renunciation when you can take advantage of all the entities that the government has
and amenities here, right here,
without even having to do nothing.
And they setting up office in your community to come and give you more access.
Yes, and so the problem I have with my cousin has always been is that sometimes you have to think outside the box, and I always say to him that there's ways you can do things and there are ways that you can't do things. If you're going to use statute law, you're going to run into problems. But if you use the Constitution, in which I've been trying to get a lot of them to understand, the Constitution is the supreme law. And I keep saying to people who know that, and I said to him and my other cousin who sits in the cabinet, in the Minister of Social Service, and I said to my other cousin who is now on the ticket to run in Long Island for the COI, you have to basically know the Constitution. See, just talking politics ain't going to get a cut. You got to be able to explain to people why you're taking a stand, and you have to defend your position. Majority of the young people I see in St. Barnabas who I know of Haitian descent, many of them, I see them moving around. I know they have the payment documents, and I was like, how is it that the administration upon administration keep giving these documents?
Right.
We now see where, I know, when you look at the areas of justice of the peace, everybody now in the community is now, justice of the peace is like buying candy. We've basically been away from doing things on a merit system to on a political party system by granting things or giving things out to people.
Well, I think we could agree with this, Cartwright. The two major parties seem very pleased with the overwhelming large foreign population.
Well,
I'm being a little facetious, but they don't have a problem with it.
I've seen something
they seem to be,
all the political parties have a problem, don't really have a problem, because I've seen some whereby they say one party was saying that they would give an amnesty, but those who come in through amnesty, they'll allow them to stay. You can't let someone stay in the country if they're illegal.
No.
So there's no such thing. I only give you amnesty to leave.
Right.
And that's it.
Well, this is the end of the show now.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
My closing remark, Professor, is the Quieting Titles Act, supported by both major parties, is extremely damaging to Bahamians losing property.
Okay.
And they sitting well with that. These new legislation, I'm officially calling these the Not So Quieting Titles Act. They're going to end up doing the same thing, in my view, and damage Bahamian ownership of property. That's it for me for the day.
They have a whole lot of
Good day.
problems.
Have a good weekend, Bahamas.
Okay. Bahamas, have a good weekend. Pray to God, because we have to overcome these problems. We have to have it in our knowledge. Have a pleasant weekend. I'll be back on Monday. Monday is Constitution Day. I'll have my talk then. This is Professor Sidney McArthur, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. Have a pleasant afternoon and a pleasant weekend.